Great morning, everybody. Welcome to our BMG. Today's topic is on mastering your network, becoming the networking guru. And we've broken this into two sections. We're going to go through both of those. But really quickly, before we dive in, it's extremely important to generalize the fact that when we talk about our business, there is a marketing element that is required, right? And again, when we talk about networking, these are the people that we can get in front of to let them know we're operational. The doors are open. Let's go and talk about business. So one of the number one rules in marketing is people do not care about us. They care about the problem that we solve. Okay. So I'm just curious if anybody in the group, and I have hundreds of stories that I can use for this, but I'm curious if anybody in the group has a favorite movie that is well known. Does anybody have a movie that they want to offer up really quickly?
Sound of Music's my favorite. I know that sounds silly, but it is.
Okay, so I don't really know that movie well. So you're gonna have to walk me through this. I don't know,
Or-
like I don't really know it at all, actually. So who's the main character?
Well, Julie Andrews.
Okay.
Mhm.
Who is the villain or what is the problem that she faces?
Well, it's the Nazis.
Okay. And what is that problem specifically? Is that safety? Is that the environment? What exactly is the
Well,
dilemma that they
kind of
pose to
both.
her?
They've got to get out of the country because they'll have to come under the right, and they don't
Got
want
you.
to.
Okay. What is the solution?
They sneak out during the night.
Okay. Okay. So here's the point in all of this, right? And you can use this with any movie. It's the same in business, though. You know, if you were to watch a movie and it was all butterflies and rainbows and they won every time and everything went smoothly, it'd be a really boring movie. When we talk about our business, we have to understand there is a client, there is a main character. That's what we're focusing on here when we dive into that 30-second pitch. Who is your main character? When we talk about the problem, what is the problem or the villain that they face? You've got to be very clear on the pain points and the problems that your clients face. And then third, and the big point of all of this, what is the solution that you provide? So I want you to think about that. And you can use any movie for this, by the way. You can use Star Wars, you can use Harry Potter, you can use any movie. There's always going to be a main character, there's always going to be a problem, and there's always going to be a solution. So think about that as we go through this. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. This top quote is very, very relevant to everything that we're going to go through. It might not reflect it in these specific words, but I want you to keep this quote in mind. It's by Bob Burg, who I actually met, which is really cool. The successful networkers I know, the ones receiving tons of referrals and feeling truly happy about themselves, continually put the other person's needs ahead of their own. He wrote the book, The Go Giver. I'm in a group where both he and I actually presented our books together, and that was a really, really cool experience. But if you haven't checked that book out, check it out. The Go Giver, great book. When we're talking about networking, all of this is under the realm of networking, right? We want to be able to serve others. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst networker in the world, 10 being you get 100 referrals every month, who wants to share where they would rate themselves right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
I current I currently am a 1.5 maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Just because I'm retooling, trying to figure out where I'm at. So I've had to pull back, and I don't want to refer slash be referred because I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing moving forward.
Amazing. So thank you for the vulnerability. One thing that we got to be really clear on, and this comes up all the time, don't wait for perfection to act. You cannot learn to, like, remember back to when you were a teenager and you were learning to drive a vehicle? Well, you can't learn to drive a parked car. You have to get the car, the vehicle in motion, and you learn along the way. It's the same thing with what Brennan just shared. You don't want to stay in the parking lot forever. Yes, you want to refine these things, and we're going to do that today. So this should help you a ton. Once you get this information, it's about going and testing it. Here's the truth. When we talk about our 30-second pitch, This will change rapidly. It's not going to stay the same. You will evolve this over time because your solution is going to get better. Your client might change. These things evolve. So it doesn't matter if you've been in business for a decade or if you're refining your business. This is relevant on both sides. So number one, and we talked about this a little bit in the story with the movies, but the first point is you must define your perfect client. Specificity here is key. Specificity is key. So really quickly, these are the people that you want to work with. This is not coming from a place of limiting beliefs. I don't want to hear the term, oh, well, I need money, so I'm going to let whoever walk in the door. No, that is terrible for your culture moving forward. You want to have specificity and you want to visualize the people that you want to work with, your perfect client. Now, I want to be very clear on this as well. In defining your perfect client, it does not mean that if you're having a conversation with somebody and they don't fit exactly into that definition, you are not going to serve them. No, that's not what that means. We want to have specificity and clarity because when we are in the networking realm, we want people to go, oh yeah, I identify with those pain points, or I know somebody that does. Then when you get to your solution, now they are reaching out to you and you're not out there seeking people, right? You don't want to be chasing people around. You have a product or a service that people need. That's all there is to it. Not every person is going to need your product or service. You just need to get in front of more people that do, and the doors will open. So having that clarity is extremely impactful because if we don't have the clarity, when we are in those groups, our words just fall on deaf ears and nobody knows who we serve or how to refer us if they're not the right fit. Any questions on this? Awesome. By the way, guys, we have a ton of stuff to get through today. So if you do have very deep questions, I ask that I'll give a chance after each section if you can ask then, or just write them down. And I'd be more than happy to work through any of the stuff with anybody or just be a soundboard. Okay. Number two, what is missing in their life? What we're really saying is, let me ask you this. So Jen, if you can hear us and you're still with us, and I know that there are multiple here, so just pick one. But if you could share with us, Jen, what is one product that you sell or service?
I sell protein powder.
Protein powder. Amazing. So let me ask you this. If somebody, and I take protein powder every day, right? So let's say before, if I didn't take protein powder, what is the benefit from taking protein powder? And there are a lot, by the way, but what's just one?
Convenience helps you have a complete meal on the go.
Absolutely. Satiation, right? Being full, getting the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals that we need. So in Jen's specific example, what is missing is, well, people might be hungry. They might not be getting all the nutrients and vitamins they need. They might not be gaining the muscle mass or the lean muscle that they desire. These are the things that are missing. So by them incorporating this protein, they are transforming their results. They're getting more lean muscle. They're getting more mass. They're feeling full, so they're not eating junk food. These are the benefits. So take whatever product or service that you represent and understand that you are creating transformation for somebody. I absolutely guarantee this, because if you were not creating transformation for somebody, they wouldn't buy your product or service. It's that simple. So everybody here creates transformation, and that is what people buy. You've got to realize that this is the before state. This is before they see you. Now, we really want to connect on the emotional level here, and we'll get deeper into this when we talk about empathy. But really what we're saying at this point, what is missing in their life, right? So we've defined our perfect client. We've identified what they are missing. Now, what is keeping them incomplete? Is it a pattern? Is it a habit? Is it a paradigm or a lifestyle? Or maybe it's a circle of influence. Whatever it is, what is keeping them incomplete? Why can they not just figure this out for themselves? Now, a lot of people, I really truly believe this, that most people are very smart individuals. So I personally believe a lot of people can go down the route of figuring this out themselves. However, what I've also found is wealthy people trade money to get more time back. Lower class trades their time to get more money back. Why is that relevant? Because if you could figure this out yourself, I believe that that's a reality. However, what if it takes you a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years? What is that going to do to the trajectory of your success? How many voices are you going to miss because you didn't share your solution until 4 years down the road? What is keeping your ideal client incomplete? Why can they not figure this out themselves? Well, again, in this example that we just gave, they probably could, but the time is what's keeping them incomplete, right? It is, yes, you could figure this out, but it might take you 3 years to master, and you just simply don't want to wait that long. What is the villain or the problem holding them back? Okay, I'm going to stop again really quickly. So we've talked about who our ideal client is in our 30-second pitch. We've talked about what is missing in their life. Now we've talked about what is keeping them incomplete. Does anybody have any questions, examples, thoughts, stories, snide remarks that they'd like to interject here? Okay, keeping it moving. So number 4, now what we do is we combine all 3 steps, right? We talk about who we serve. We talk about how we serve them, and we're going to get to the why part in a minute. But these 3 combined represent your identity and the problem that you solve, as well as for whom. Defining the problem can be very uncomfortable, okay? Here's the thing. It's not that you're telling people they are doing something wrong, right? In the coaching space, for example, I'm not going to go to somebody and say, hey, look, I noticed that you've talked about the same exact problem 2 years ago. You're an idiot. That's not how we approach this. That's not what I'm saying, right? The point is that you're relating to people. So let me flip that with the same context. Hey, I see that you are making the same errors that you were talking about 2 years ago. I absolutely can understand and relate to that because I did the same thing for a decade. Literally 10 years, I made the same mistake over and over and over again. And it changed my identity. It changed my results. So I spent my life figuring out how not to do that. Now I'm relating, I'm not attacking, right? And so understanding the problem that we solve and for who we solve it, that's where you come back to that identity. And again, even if the person on the other end in the networking realm does not identify as your client, if you're very clear here, they're going to know somebody that does. And that's the whole point here. Even if they are not our ideal client, they have to know at least one person that is. So again, in step 4, we want to take 1, our perfect client. We want to take 2, what is missing in their life. And then we want to take 3, what is keeping them incomplete. Okay. This gives us the problem that we solve and for who. And we want to be really clear here. Any questions on this point? Great. Again, to re-emphasize, this does not mean that if somebody walks into your office or your virtual world and they want your services that you turn them down. No, it just means that your marketing is tailored specifically for these people. Okay. Number 5, and this is really the why. Start with empathy. When we say start with empathy, we're making a connection. We're sharing a similar experience. So we have to show that we understand the problem that our prospects have. For example, and again, this isn't about me. These are just relevant examples. I work in the veterans community. Okay. Often when I get into a room of veterans that are 55 or older, they look at me and they go, who the hell is this kid? How can he relate to any of our problems? He was never in war. Absolutely. And that's a valid point. But we all have the commonality of post-traumatic stress disorder. And that is where we relate on an emotional level. So this helps us to have similar experience because now, yes, I didn't serve in war like you did, but we've both experienced PTSD, different fronts, different traumas, but traumas nonetheless. And so this is our ability to identify that we can relate to the way that they feel. That's the empathy. That's the emotional tie-in. And this creates a receptive audience. By the way, this is why stories are so powerful in your 30-second pitch, because it doesn't matter where somebody is. It doesn't matter how old they are. Every person can relate to a story, whether they have directly experienced it or they know somebody that has. They hear that story and it creates the empathy. It creates the emotional tie-in. Any questions here? Awesome. And again, the main thing is showing how we understand someone's pain point. So again, guys, all of this is under the umbrella of networking. But not only that, this is really what we're really talking about is expanding your business. And you need all of these things to portray healthy marketing, to do healthy networking, and for creating a sales funnel. You know, these are all relevant things. Go ahead, Bob.
Sorry. So you reminded me too that this one pager, which you introduced me to many moons ago, is not only used just for not just for networking, but also for marketing, like you just said.
Absolutely.
I remember wanting to do this, and I think you're regenerating that this one pager could be put on my website,
100%.
or could be given out as a one pager to let people know who I am. It's like a networking vehicle. Instead of being in a networking group and saying, this is what I do, here's a one pager. Somebody wants to know about you. You just send out this one pager. So I just didn't want that to get, this is not just, I mean, it will help tremendously when you're in a networking group to let people know who you are, what you do, and who you serve. But it could stand alone as a marketing tool or as a giveaway, just on a one page. And yours, I don't know if you gave us your example, if you still have it, but I remember it being brilliant. Seriously.
Thank you. Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Bob. This is multifaceted. So you can use this on multiple fronts. You know, for example, it doesn't have to be a networking group. You could simply be having a communication via email and somebody says, hey, look, I've got a friend that I think could use your services, but I don't know how to introduce you. Oh, hey, here's my one pager. Boom. Now, again, for specificity, we're right now talking about the 30-second pitch, but the 30-second pitch is a major part of the one pager, which we are going to get into. So the 30-second pitch is interchangeable. You can use this on multiple fronts all the time. The one pager you can as well, but you've got to crush your 30-second pitch to have a really good one pager. Okay. So these are directly tied together, and that's why I married the two. But great points, Bob. You're absolutely right. You could put this on your webpage. You could share this via email. It's not limited to just a networking group, but it will help in these regards. So again, the specificity on your solution. Now, this is a really cool thing because you may or may not have programs or products or services. What we're really addressing here is the after point. So what is keeping them in that place? That's the before. Our solution is the after. Let me give you a really quick example. And this is a true story. Up in Connecticut, there was a company called 1-800-JUNK, and they were in the market space for a very long time. They dabbled in New York, all over the Northeastern region, right? And so they had been there for a while. They had a big portion of the market share. As they progressed, they lost their lead marketing person, and their campaigns were atrocious. You would watch, they put out commercials, they put out radio advertisements, and you would hear these things and you would say, okay, I know who the company is and I see the word junk in their name, but I really have absolutely no clue what these people do. I have no idea what the after is once they've shown up. Meanwhile, Junk Luggers comes into the market space. I happen to have a friend that worked with Junk Luggers. I was able to meet the CEO and we talked about their marketing campaign. So they put out a commercial, very, very simple. It was so easy. There was a sidewalk and there was a lady standing on the sidewalk and she had all this junk behind her. The junk lugger's vehicle is driving down the road and you see them driving. And then at some point they completely block visibility of the woman and all her junk. And they don't stop or anything. They just keep on moving. And as they pass the point where the woman was, she's still standing there, but all their junk is gone. Right. And so that is a very, very easy visual of before and after. Before, you had all the junk. After, you don't have any junk. That is their solution. And that is very, very clearly defined. We want to have the same thing in our 30-second pitch. So clarity and focus is essential, because people that are confused, people that are unsure of your solution are not going to buy. They don't know what the heck you're solving. So for this example, a visual is really easy, right? Before, junk; after, no junk. Makes sense. Get it. Yours may be a little bit more complex, and that's okay. But you want to know what that solution is. Here's an example. Maybe it's a program. Maybe you're debuting a program to the public, and you know for a fact the client's incomplete, and by them completing your program, they are going to be a completely different person. They'll have clarity, they'll have focus, they'll have drive, and an end destination. Like, that is what they want. So define your solution, whatever it is. Any questions or thoughts before we go to the next part? Okay, great. So identify the transformation state. And again, we just talked about the solution. Well, that is the person showing up, removing the junk. And then again, we want to very acutely define the aftermath. So I just really lumped those two together. We talked about this, but again, if you are not creating transformation for your clients, they would not buy from you. So you're obviously creating transformation. Now, another element, and Bob is extremely good at this, when you do create the transformation for people, you want to capture a testimony. It does not matter if it's a product or a service. It doesn't matter. Testimonies are huge. So whatever you can do to incentivize the people that love, know, and trust you, get those testimonies, because they are so, so helpful. And I don't want to pry into Bob's business, but from a marketing stance, are you okay with me sharing this, the engagement fact?
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. His engagement over a 2-month time frame has gone up something like almost 700% recurring. And so that's because he's displayed testimonies brilliantly. And so again, how that relates to this is he's capturing the transformation from current clients. That's a huge selling point. So use this information and get those testimonies. Again, it doesn't matter if you work for a company or if you're an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter if it's a product or a service. Testimonies are king.
The one thing I just want to add that I think I've learned over the last 2 months about testimonies and why they're attractive is because, just as you said at the beginning, it's not about me. It's not a post that says, Bob is great, Bob is terrific, Bob has all these credentials, Bob. It's not, it's about the people. It's about, and the people that are reading it can relate to those people, not me, because it's not about me. And it's all about what happens to them when they're with me. I'm just a byproduct, so I think that's why they were very attracted to it, because just what you said, this whole marketing thing is not about us or your product. It's about what happens to the people who use your product or service.
Exactly. Well said. And that just brings us back to the empathy and the emotional tie-in, right? So now we're able to expand that empathetic reach and emotional tie-in by leveraging other people's experiences, not just our own words, like Bob just shared. So yeah, you're exactly right, Bob. I love that. I love that tidbit. All right. So let's start at the very beginning, and we'll go to step 8, and we're almost through this 30-second pitch. So we've got to define our perfect client clearly. We've got to address what is missing in their life. What is keeping them incomplete? Now, step 4, we pull all of these together. This reveals who we serve and how. Then when we talk about the empathy, this is the tie-in. This is the why. This is why we serve these people. Oh, I had a similar experience, right? And then the solution is the what. This is what we're providing for them. So when we get to 8, we've got to write the script for this, right? We want to pull all of this together and have it in a clear, concise statement. For example, I work with another individual and he's done an absolute amazing job of capturing all these points, but the transition when it was in paragraph form was jumbled and it didn't make a lot of sense. So when we talk about writing the script, you want to pool all of this together and have it cohesive and collective. That's why I really like breaking this down into these 7 prior steps, because it allows you to consolidate this information in just one sentence. And then you take that one sentence and you put all of them together and then you refine that. That is your script. Okay. So there's 2 ways to make this script. One, you do a networking introduction, and everybody's heard this one. This starts with who I am. It starts with what I do, and the problem that we solve, right? The transformation. Everybody's heard this one, right? In my opinion, they're very boring, right? Hi, I'm Joe Schmo. I clean toilets, and people like to go to the bathroom and clean toilets. It's boring, right? That's just my opinion. If you like it, go for it, right? Use your personality. The statement of value, I find, has more results. Why? Because people do not buy on price, they buy on value. If you value something, you will do whatever it takes to purchase that. If you devalue it, you don't really care, right? You're not going to put energy or effort towards it. So it's a stronger pitch in my experience, but not always. It is circumstantial. Some environments, you get a better result from doing the networking strategy. But the statement of value, it has the emotional tie-in. So it increases that empathetic reach and more connectivity. It shows the perfect client. So and again, back to the empathy. Look, I get it. I've been there. I know this to be true because I lived it myself. I understand that our traumas are different, but I've gone down the trauma road as well. And so I can relate to you. This is why I created this program or this service, or this is why I represent this product, because my husband experienced a health situation. And so I started representing health related products, right? That's an example. The problem it solves. And then once you have it, this is the after state. This is what most people achieve. Oh, well, started working with so-and-so and they had done all of these different programs without success. We worked together for X amount of time and her life was completely changed, right? That's an example. So when we write the script, all you're doing is you're taking step 1 through 7. You're taking all those sentences that you put on or those words that you put on, and then you're putting them all together in a paragraph. Once you have the paragraph, you want to refine it. And then you don't have to do this, but I do think it helps direction if you define one of these 2. Pick one of these 2, try it out, see how it works. If it's not the right fit for you, no worries. Try the other one. Not a big deal. It's a learning process. And the 9th and the final step here is practice, practice, practice. I can't tell you how many times I've practiced various things, incantations, 30-second pitches, all these things that seem really weird and obtuse, but literally just sitting in the mirror, looking at yourself and thinking, oh my gosh, I probably look ridiculous, but I'm practicing, practicing, practicing. So when I get into the actual playing field, I'm ready. I'm prepared. I sound like I know my stuff. So this is your 30-second pitch. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or feedback on this?
I'll say something.
Go ahead.
You want to be able to engage people and say something that will resonate and be memorable. So for example, like I do IT for a living, in case my background didn't have a Chili Pepper moment to give it away now. So I tell people that I reduce their stress and put their mind at ease when it comes to the potpourri of technology needs. I'm a map poet and I know it. And I always have some weird idiosyncrasy of humor that I throw in there. So this week I said, if you're experiencing more drama than the iPhone 14 Pro's camera doing the Harlem Shake while using Snapchat, it's Super Matt Nerds to the rescue. So what is going to stick out like either a pimple on prom night or an 80-year-old on Viagra, that's going to sit there and get you noticed. That's to make somebody going to remember who you are. So being weird, being unique, being eclectic will sit there and make you stand out, because people will forget if you fit in. if you do something very different or say something different, that will help resonate with those people to remember who you are, what you do, and more importantly, how you can help and assist them.
Absolutely. So on that note, and I'm glad that Matt, you spoke up on this. Guys, use your personality. Everybody in this room knows that Matt has a very unique personality. Not everybody in this room is like Matt, and that's perfectly fine. We're all very unique in our own way. So Matt has the ability to leverage humor and, like you said, that poeticism. Well, if that's you, capture it. Amazing. If that's not you, then use your approach. Some people don't like humor. Some people are kind of weird about humor because they don't think they're funny people. That's fine. Don't use it then. Use whatever's good for you. Now, one little thing on that, Matt, is, and I'm saying this because I know just a tiny bit about your business, but when we look at the 30-second pitch, I think that this presents a really good opportunity to be extremely clear on your perfect client. Because when you say something like the Harlem Shake, if you're working with a demographic that is in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they're going to be like, what the hell is a Harlem Shake? I don't care about that. You know what I mean? So I get the personality that you're bringing into the pitch, and I absolutely love that. And like you said, that creates your uniqueness and exclusivity, and I think you need to capture that. But again, in making sure that we get the right results, be really clear on your perfect client. Now, if your perfect client is somebody, between 25 and 50, then that statement was gold. But again, you know this better than I do, but be clear on the perfect client. And if that is your perfect client, you're using the right words to capture their attention. If it's not in your demographic and you use certain words, they're going to be like, what the heck is this man talking about? You know what I mean? So you know this better than I do, of course. But again, that's a really good opportunity for everybody in the room to say, hey, look, number one, use your personality to your advantage. And number two, again, think about that ideal client when you're doing step 8 and putting your script together. Think about that ideal client in terms of the words that you're using. Does this capture that audience? And if you're unsure, have a conversation with somebody in that demographic, do a quick Google search, whatever you need to do, but that will help you refine the vernacular. And I wasn't picking on you, Matt, by the way. I love that statement. Just a tiny little thing. Anybody else, any questions or comments on this specifically on the 30-second pitch? And then we'll go to the one pager. Okay, great.
I know I ran in late here, Keegan. I apologize for that. But yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of your 30 seconds, I mean, yeah, trying to distill that message down to the absolute necessary components to explain what you do, who you do it for, and why you do it, and how it benefits them. But yeah, it's so easy theoretically, but so difficult in practice.
It is. You're absolutely right, Jeremy. You're absolutely right. And so just so you guys know, the majority of this information is, at least just on the 30-second pitch side, I took a $10,000 course, and this is, in my experience, this is the best way to do it. I've seen 100 different models. This one has been the easiest for me. So Jeremy's absolutely right. A lot of times we get into this environment and we're like, hey, I know what I do. It seems really simple. But then when we go to share it, we jumble the words. We don't have a lot of clarity. And then people don't know what the heck we do. So again, real quick, because I know you just jumped in, but running through these, and then we'll shift to the one pager, because again, we use this in our one pager. But you got to be really clear on the perfect client. This is who you want to work with, not who you're currently serving, who you want to work with, your perfect fit. Then we talk about what's missing in their life. Okay, well, why do they feel incomplete right now? What is keeping them incomplete? So this is really more on the paradigms, the habits, the patterns that they are continually doing. Again, the example that we used before is, I believe most people are intelligent beings. They probably could figure this out on their own. But again, if you have any aspiration or goal of being wealthy, wealthy people know you trade your money to get more time back. And so that incomplete part is, well, you can figure it out on your own, but instead, why don't we save you 2 years of banging your head against the wall and making all these errors, and let's do them in a confined environment so that trajectory time is much shorter. So what is keeping them incomplete? Patterns, habits, paradigms, whatever it is. 4, we're going to combine all this together. This clearly defines the problem that we solve and for who. The empathy piece allows us to emotionally tie in and connect to people. And that, again, the most powerful way that I've found to do this is through stories. It's through stories, because guess what? If your story doesn't relate to the people in the audience, they're going to hear something and say, oh my gosh, that reminds me of my friend Sally. She went through the exact same thing. Boom. Now you got a referral. And then number 6, you want to define what the solution is. Be very clear on what that solution is, whether it's a product, a service, a program, whatever it is. And then 7, well, what's the after state? So we talked about how they're incomplete, the problem. Now we want to define the after. And that again was the example with the junk luggers, very clearly defined before and after. And then again, back to Jeremy's point. Well, now that we have all these great concepts and sentences and words, we want to refine them into a script. Then once we get the script down, either do this in the mirror by yourself, do it with a friend, do it with a networking peer, whatever it is, but practice it until you get it down. Okay. And again, to be very clear, this will adjust over time. Okay. It's not going to be a one-stop shop. You do it and you're done. No, this adjusts and evolves as you and your business do as well. Great points, guys. All right, so let's get to the one pager. We got about 20 minutes left. We should be able to crush this. And then I'm going to show an example, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. I know several people in the group already have a one pager. Ashley, for example, I don't know if you still have yours, but she had a really good one. I know Carissa has a good one. So, if you guys want to share those, you're more than welcome to. If not, no worries at all. But let's get into it. So we just dove through the 30-second pitch, and we went through a lot of clarity in this. This is going to be one of your biggest points. So once you can get this into that refined paragraph in about 4 to 6 sentences, you're going to put this on your one pager. Okay. So this is critical. Now, again, what is this called? A 30-second pitch. So you don't want this to be a 10-minute pitch. It's a 30-second pitch, 30 seconds or less. Right. And in a lot of BNI platforms, that's literally all they give you. They'll give you 30 seconds and you're on a timer. And then once 30 seconds hits, they're like, okay, next. So you'll want to confine this to 30 seconds. And this is really the value approach. And that's what we talked about here in the script, the statement of value. So 2, current projects and priorities. This one's a lot of fun because again, this, just like John C. Maxwell said, one of the top 5 ways to create trust is through similar experience. So if you have projects or priorities, things that you're working on right now, not only does it open opportunity for more referrals, but it creates that similar experience and relatability. So even if you walk into a room of people that you don't know at all, you've just increased your like and trustability by a lot, just because of something as simple as current projects or priorities. Oh, you work with nonprofits. I've got a huge sweet spot in my heart for nonprofits. Let's have a conversation. Great. Centers of influence to introduce. Guys, keep this short and sweet. The key here is you want 3 or less. When we're talking about the centers of influence, another way that people phrase this is, what is your avatar? Or what is your, oh man, I just lost the word. Your vertical. Or your vertical. And so you want to keep this to 3 or less. For example, I love working with coaches. Okay, great. Very simple. I understand what that is. Do you know any other coaches? Perfect. Or it could be something completely different. Like in Matt's situation, it could be somebody that is not IT savvy. I love working with people that have no idea how to fix IT. And maybe that's a boomer. I don't know. However you define that. Keep the centers of influence short and sweet. And again, I'm going to share this with you guys on mine, so you'll see an example of this, but this is just an easy way for people to refer you. How to introduce somebody. So this is a key point here. And again, we don't need to complicate this. We keep this very simple. Who we serve, why we serve them, and how we serve them. That is the 30-second pitch. So how we introduce them, we may want to capture the before and after and say, for example, hey, Ashley, I know that you work really well with families. So before they meet you, they might not have great communication. They might experience a lot of hurdles or roadblocks or maybe even abuse. After we've created solid communication platforms and you go through this. So how to introduce? Okay. Ashley's really good at helping families that are in the exact situation that you're in. And this is what they look like after. Great. That's a great way to introduce somebody. By the way, guys, these are just simply bullet points. You can take this however you want. Okay. And again, I'd be more than happy to have separate conversations if you want to go in more in depth on these. Skills, experiences, and passions. This is different than current projects, right? Because you could theoretically be a whiz at Excel, but not have any clue how to do PowerPoint. Neither of those things have anything to do specifically with a project, but that is a skill set that might be applicable to your client. Or again, back to the passion piece, you may have an innate passion for something. Like, for example, oh, you like to surf? Awesome. I know somebody else who loves to surf. Again, that creates commonality and it builds credibility. And then this is a final one, and this is kind of like a no-brainer, but you want to put as many links and contact info as you can on there. And you want this to be clear and concise. So you don't want to get into a situation where you have 15 links. That's too much. But do the ones that generate business for you, right? So for example, if I'm selling a book right now, one of the links that I might put on there is a link to purchase the book. Cool. Whether you buy it or not, now you can at least access it and share it if you want to. Everything that you possibly need is on this one pager. And Bob brought up an amazing point before that. Again, guys, this is not only limited to networking. This can be put on your website. This can be simply held on a Word doc on the side. So when you are in networking, all you got to do is copy and paste it. This can be sent in emails when making introductions. Well, for me, I love to have things like this. Why? Because it cuts down my time. What do I mean by that? Let's say that I want to introduce Patty and Jen. Now, I know they know each other, but let's say that I want to introduce the two of them. Instead of me going through and taking 5 to 10 minutes to explain what each person does, no, all I have to do is send the one pager into that introduction. Hey, you want to see what they do? Check out their one pager. I think you guys would be a good fit because of this. Boom. You just saved yourself a ton of time. So this makes you an asset in the networking world. Patty?
Yeah, do you have any strong feeling using a bit.ly with all your information, or would you prefer them listed out?
Totally up to you. I don't have a ton of experience with bit.ly, but in my experience, if you're not super IT savvy, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Or for example, if somebody has like multiple links, then that can be a little troublesome.
Yeah,
But
let
again,
me throw this out to you as well, is that I like bit.ly if you know what it is. But if you're not IT savvy or don't know what it is, like, well, what the hell is this? So if you see the name of the site there, I'll say, oh yeah, I know what that is. So if the person knows what the bit.ly is already, great. If they don't know what the bit.ly is, spell it out. So for somebody who doesn't know, it'll be easy for them to figure it out.
So then, Matt, if we put, I mean, my bit.ly has all of my links, including a Calendly to schedule. So are you saying put, for all my information and then put the bit.ly there? Or do you think it's better to, either one of you, Keegan or Matt?
Well, let me ask you this. Does the bit.ly, is that short for like your link tree or something like that? I mean, what exactly is?
Well, my bit.ly has my name in it. So I'm saying if it'll say bit.ly, if you put that link in the URL, everything comes up. My email, my phone numbers, my LinkedIn, everything is there.
Okay, then I think you kind of solved your problem already, where if you indicate, okay, this is what this website does, then that takes the guesswork out of figuring, well, what's a bit.ly? Because people won't care. They'll care more about what you said, what the website is.
Right, but you can't explain that in a one pager though. Okay, that's all right. I'm just curious.
I was just going to say, from my perspective, I mean, and maybe me, I'm not IT challenged, but I had no clue what bit.ly is essentially. And I know just based on experience, one pagers need to be as simplistic as freaking possible because people are lazy.
Okay, got it. Good, thank you.
So a different take on this, Patty, is if you could put one sentence explaining, for example, something as simple as access all my links here, and then put the bit.ly link, and then boom, that suffices. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Or put learn more about me here. So it makes it easy where they don't need to know what bit.ly is. Just like Jeremy said, Jerry spoken in class today, apparently. So, at that point, you keep it simple, stupid. So they don't need to know what it is. They just need to know that they need to go there.
Right. Well, I just
Exactly.
think to me it's easier than listing, Facebook, LinkedIn, phone number, email, Calendly. If they go there, it's all right there, plus more.
Yeah, exactly. And I do that for my link tree. I said, you want to learn all about me? Go here and find out here. So at least you give them the door to know where to go into.
Okay, thank you.
And Matt touched on this, but Jeremy brings up a really good point as well, is that the one pager, you want that to be as simple and straightforward as possible. Here's why. It looks great, but if I'm on the receiving end and it looks complicated, I'm not even going to read the thing. So if you keep it super simple and easy, it's okay. Here's what I actually want to know, which most often is the 30-second pitch. That's what most people care about, to be honest with you. So if you have that point in there, that's the biggest thing. Let me share mine with you guys really quickly. And guys, by the way, I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not super creative. You guys all on this call can probably make one way better than I did, but this is just an example. Okay. So can I get a thumbs up if you can see it? Cool. Short and sweet, right? It's got everything that we talked about. It's got your 30-second intro. It's got the contact information. The links are right here. You can click right on them and it just takes you directly to. It's got the current projects. It's got the skills and experience. This is the one that I really like in terms of the center of influence to introduce. It's just so simple, right? Like I see that and I'm like, oh, new coaches, cool. Financial advisors, cool. Entrepreneurs, cool. It resonates. It's really easy. So again, I know some people like Ashley's is way better than mine. And I don't even think Ashley, I don't know, you may, but do you even utilize yours a lot? Probably not yet, right? Not yet. But when we get into, by the way, guys, we've got a networking group and we're like officially launching on Thursday. So this is directly applicable for you there, right, Ashley? This would be a really good opportunity for you to use this on that. And again, the easy way to do it is just take a PDF and just put it in the chat. And now, boom, now everybody can access all your information right there.
Hey, Keegan, this may be nitpicking. I can't tell exactly, but just so you figure it out, your picture looks like it cuts the top of your head off.
Well, this is, I actually have two of these. This was just an example that I have for today. So I made this last night, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's fine.
So it still needs some refining and editing, but I wanted to give an example for you guys today.
And Keegan, I got a question if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you. The center of influence is something that I'm still trying to get wrap my head around. So when I see it next to it's got a graphic with lines. Is that just for a pretty picture, or do those lines mean anything in the center? I'm just trying to get an understanding.
Just a pretty picture. It was part of the template.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I just
All right,
kept it.
cool. Yeah. So now I know better what a center of influence is. Like you said, maybe your avatar, the right person
Exactly.
to work with. Got it.
And
All right,
here's
cool.
one really, really, really important point. When we say center of influence, the reason why we put that at number 3, it's not only limited to our client. Here's what I mean by that. If I put entrepreneurs, I may or may not directly work with those people, but because I work with financial advisors and coaches, those people work with entrepreneurs. So if I get an introduction from somebody, I automatically can put them into a pool of like-minded contacts. Okay, let me say that a different way again. If somebody introduces me to a financial advisor, because that's on my circle of influence, I know that they also work really well with realtors, right? Because people are making financial decisions then. So if I have a list of realtors and I get introduced to a financial advisor, I can bring them immense value right off the bat. How? I make introductions to the real estate agents. Now, because I know that you work with these people because they're in the same center of influence, I can also make introductions. So not only is it for me, but it also shows value when people are making intros because, oh, wow, now I can get you into 5 of those people and you might close business simply by introducing me to somebody. So again, for specificity on the circle of influence, it's not only limited to our client base. Yes, we want to put that client in there, of course, but we can put other people that work with or would be a benefit to our client. When we bring, guys, remember, people buy on value. If you have two coaches that have the exact same program, but one coach is willing to send you 10 referrals, guess who's going to get the business? The one who's going to send you the 10 referrals. You know what I mean? So these are value adds that we can provide to increase our client base. Awesome stuff, by the way. Great questions and feedback. We have a couple minutes left. I'm curious if anybody else has anything that they would like to share. I can give Carissa or Ashley, I can give you guys access if you do have yours up and want to share them. You don't have to, of course, but if you wanted to share yours just to show a different example of a good one pager.
I'm on my phone, so that would not be a simple task for me, but I can email it. I also wanted to make a comment. The first time we were tasked to make these, like, I love Bob's question because the first time we did it, I was just like, I didn't want to ask anyone like what template they use. So I just like, I don't know, made something up essentially from Word. And then I remember like when we all were sharing and stuff, Keegan was like, so did you use a template or what? And I was like cracking up because I just like totally winged it, but it was nice to know that everyone else was like secretly in the same boat.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw out Canva because I find that to be an easy platform to use. You don't have to be super tech savvy, and majority of the templates are free. So you can create a one pager really easily on there, and your only real investment is probably about an hour. Okay. So I'm curious if anybody else has any other templates that would be really good to create this aside from Canva or Word. Like Ashley said, any other templates that people would recommend or share? What did you use, Carissa? Did you use Canva?
So we have an internal platform at Wyndham Capital that we have access to. So I just took like a general flyer that shared like our value pillars for our mortgage company, and I just pasted some other stuff in. I mean, it was a really rough draft. Like I definitely want to perfect it. And after seeing yours, I have a lot of ideas of how to simplify it. And some of the information I have in there is kind of duplicated. So I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, but we do have access, but I do like Canva. So I'm curious to know, what did you search in Canva to get the template that you're using?
I'm trying to see what it was under. Let me pull it up real quick because I have it right here still. So it was. By the way, real quick, so everybody knows, I heard Carissa say that she's got a template, so she'll do everyone's for them. So if you just send her the information, she's got you. No, this one was actually under Resume.
Okay, I'm looking at them now. It did appear to kind of have that feel. And there's a ton of them on here. So
yeah, a lot of good free ones. So awesome. So yeah, if you guys need Carissa's email, just let me know, but we'll make sure we send those to her and she'll have these done for us by next week. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's a great point, right? So any other templates that anybody would recommend or that they've used before?
I can tell you, I just use Google Docs, and I literally have 50 of one pager. Some days I just change the wording and just tweak it a little bit. Nope, that's not good enough. And then of course I send it to people earlier on, and they'd say, okay, just tear out everything you just put on there essentially, and just keep your picture, a phone number, and maybe your company name essentially. But I did use Canva most recently for some graphics, I guess, in the later iterations. But yeah, it's just trying to find a template. I couldn't find one with enough freedom to do what I needed to do or wanted to do.
Yeah, I love that. And that kind of comes back to the point. You don't have to have just one, by the way. You know, Jeremy said he has multiple. Well, we talked about those two different scripts, the networking introduction and the statement of value. So those are two different ways to approach it. You can create both, by the way. And all you really need to change on those is your 30-second pitch. So maybe you make one, like Carissa said, a rough draft, has the information, looks good. I could share it now, but I know I can make a better one later down the road. So you take what you've got, use it in the intermediary, and then develop it as you go, or create multiple ones. And depending on the platform or the setting that you're in, you share those. For example, I'm a part of a group that is it's a much younger demographic, right? Like most of the people in this group are in their 20s. My pitch to them would be a lot different than if I was in a standard networking group, because in a standard networking group, you've got a different demographic. These aren't good or bad things. It's just, I want to be prepared as a business owner. So when I go into a particular group, I share one template versus another one. It just depends. And you guys know this better than anybody else. It's your environment, it's your network. But I love that quote that your network is your net worth, right? So you got to go, Bob. Bye, Bob. Great having you today. Any other last minute questions or comments or statements? Again, if anybody wants to directly work on this, I'd be happy to jump on a call. But I think that PDF is going to be a really helpful roadmap. So if you just want somebody to look over it or just have a question, I'd be happy to help.
Is yours on your website, and is Carissa's? No.
No, but I can send it to you if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be
Cool.
great. And Carissa's, I'd love to have that too. If you said that she's kind of perfected that.
Well, I was saying Ashley, I just saw Carissa's, and Carissa does have a really good one, but like she just shared, there are some things that she wants to update on it. So I don't want to put her on the spot right now.
Okay.
I just know that Ashley, the first time we did this, she had definitely like one of the best ones in the room. So I if you're comfortable with sharing that, you can directly send that to Patty, or I'll do a follow-up email with the recording of this. If you want to shoot it in there, that's fine as well. But it's up. Look, guys, here's the thing. We all get better by helping other people. So,
Right.
this isn't like, if it's not perfect, I shouldn't share it, or, somebody's going to steal my information. It's not like that at all. It's an opportunity for you to get better. In fact, because if you share it with somebody else, you might get a couple different feedbacks or eyes on it that you didn't think about before, which is super helpful. So we can all grow together. So again, if you guys have feedback on mine, I'm more than willing to hear it. And if you want any feedback on yours, I'm more than willing to give it. So
I was gonna say, now, just to clarify, Keegan, I don't have different versions yet. Essentially, it's just refining the message and trying to figure out how to distill that down to the least amount of words possible and get it as focused. So you can look at it, as you said, and scan it and say, okay, I get what this guy does in about 3 seconds, because that's all you're gonna get.
Yep.
And it's taken so long to do that. It's amazing. But yeah, that's where it's come from. And that's why I have so many different versions. That and changing the graphic, because again, you try to refine it and make it better and all this good stuff.
that's it. Yeah, again, so just on that note, and I know Jeremy's been doing this for a while. So again, don't expect to perfect this the first time you do it. It's an evolution. It might take years to perfect it. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and just being able to have those templates and those forms, it's going to get better and better and better over time. So, again, I think that PDF is going to be super helpful in doing so. I don't know if you guys met Jeff, but he was in one of our calls when we relaunched this in August. And I think it was the second week of August he was in there. He is an editor on this type of stuff. So I don't know if he charges for those services. I would assume he does in some fashion, but I do know that he's really good at doing the editorial piece on these. So if for example, if you finish yours and you want a professional to look over it, he'd be a really good person, and I can get you guys in touch. But again, I'd be more than happy to look over those.
What's his last name, Jeff?
It's Geoff. It's Strauss, Strauss.
Okay, thanks.
All right, guys. Unless we have any other questions, I'm going to close out. I will send this to you guys. Bear with me because the upload takes forever on my end. So sometimes it might take several hours before this is uploaded, but I will get it out to everybody before tonight's end.
Thank you so much, Keegan. Thanks for thinking of me.
Of course.
Nice to
Thank you
see all
guys.
you.
I hope you have a
Alright.
great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sorry I was late again. Thank you.
It's okay. All right, guys. Have a great Tuesday.